lead poisoning. Families moved into housing with the need of repairs and passed. If you are elected, what are you going to do to address our poor housing stock for renters all across Lewiston and address accountability for bad reputation landlords? Whoever would like to start.
I'll answer that if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm a real estate agent, been that for 28 years. I've dealt with lead paint for a number of years. Over 75%, they stopped making lead paint in 1978, and over 75% of New England housing stock is older than 1978. So there's a lot of it out there. Massachusetts has a law that you have to remove it up to 4 feet high. We have a law here in Maine that says it just needs to be disclosed that there could be lead paint in place in the thing. So how do you fix it? Especially here in Lewiston, you need to pay attention to those things, and that's where code enforcement would come in and maybe take another look at lead paint itself.
Thank you.
Yes, when we got that law through about really lowering the amount of lead in paint, which is going to be helpful for those kids up there. Okay, because the kid that's like gets on lead paint, they're gone for the rest of their lives, and that's really tragic. But we have money. The money is available, but people have to come in. We can't force the money on people, but they have to come in and take it. Okay, and we do have money, and I think we have money enough to really help the problem. But so people have to reach out for that money, and we've advertised. It's not like it's something that nobody knows about. Everybody knows about it, but you have to have the landlords and whatever come in and take it, and we can't force them to come in and take it.
I think a lot of responsibility goes on to the parents. If they ask the landlords if it's has lead paint and they say yes, then you would think that the parent would take the initiative, say, well, we're not living here, we'll look for it better, doing that one after 1978. So you got. Lewiston's got the oldest stock housing, and sure there's lead paint, and I imagine that everybody's working their hardest to rectify the problem. But if you have children, you weigh up and ask the landlord if it does have lead paint. Why would you rent it if you had kids?
Thank you. Mr. Chin?
We've got two kind of landlords in Lewiston, the high road and the low road. And you're on the high road and you're looking to rebuild our city and make sure children grow up in safe apartments and have a bright future. We've got $4 million worth of lead abatement resources that we can make sure makes that happen and happen affordably. But if you are on the low road, if you are looking to make profits off of exploiting people who are poor, who are going to have their lives forever marred by the lead that they grow up with as a toxin, we're going to run you out of town. And it's as simple as that.
Would you like to add anything?
Yes, I definitely would. I think it's important for the mayor of Lewiston to be very diplomatic in what they do. You can't go around starting fights and then expecting just to get your way and for the problem to be solved. Doesn't happen.
The local superintendent has just announced that we've had over 250 new students this year, and no one really knew about most of them coming in. How could this affect our tax rate?
Our tax rate is going to continue to go sky high. Okay? A lot of these students are coming in from out of state. We're not talking about the refugees. We're not talking about the asylum seekers. We're talking about kids that are coming in from New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, and other places. These kids, unfortunately, have a lot of baggage that they have to deal with. I feel bad for them. But as a community, we cannot continue to be a destination because we have probably do have the best programs for special ed in the state. So everybody's coming in here, and a lot of these other people that are coming in here, again, following the welfare trail, they come in here, they stay here for a year, the kids get into school, it costs us a fortune. I mean, $17 million in special ed, that's an awful lot of money. And again, that is mostly due to domestic kids. Okay, it has nothing to do with the refugees from
Time.
all the others.
I'll just jump in. We also have Farwell School that's probably, 3 or 4 years old, I'm guessing, somewhere in that range. And now they're talking about building modulars on because they are overcrowded. This is gonna continue to happen, and as Mayor Macdonald said, the mill rate's gonna have to go up if we don't bring businesses and find funding to take care of this. People are coming in, and we have that image problem right now that we are somewhat of a welfare happy city, and we need to put a definite stop to that. And am I exactly planned out on how that's gonna happen? It has to be looked at. Maybe we take and raise the minimum wage just a little bit and create some more jobs by bringing businesses in here and lower the amount of general assistance that we get. Just a thought.
Your people have been saying, well, we want people to move here. This is the consequences of having a great neighborhood, or a great town. And I don't know about you people, but I've lived here all my life, and it is a great town. And, this is the consequence. You want people here, now you're gonna have to pay for them to be here. You're right about jobs, but, it's easy to say, well, we need jobs. Where are the jobs gonna come from? I've been advocating for years that we should do more business with France because we're culturally French. And that in a global economy where they're doing business and building cars, foreign cars in the rest of the country, why aren't we producing French automobiles in Lewiston, Maine? We have the factories, and even Europe sits up higher than Maine, and so it'd be less fuel financing for France. Another thing is it lead to Searsport Terminal.
Time.
Mr. Chin, I think you want to.
Yeah, Lewiston, the single largest age cohort in Lewiston are people between the ages of 20 and 29. The second biggest are kids 10 and under. We are a young city in a state that is struggling with aging demographics. And we have an opportunity right now to nail this and create a generation of kids that are going to grow up with a great education and can rebuild our city. It requires resources to do that. And it's just not going to happen if we just look with what is within our city. We need to leverage resources outside of it. If we do this referendum that will apply a 3% surcharge to incomes over $200,000 a year, we will get $3.1 million more dollars in our schools, which will more than handle the 270 new students that came here. And we will finally be able to start making good on the promise that voters passed over 10 years ago, and that all of us, I think, want to have for our children.
Time, Mr. Jensen?
Regarding the influx of students in the schools, two components that I would kind of approach. One, the mayor touched on before, welfare reform. We do need it in town, and voters have been asking for it. I work 40 hours a week, got a college education, I live right. So it is a little frustrating seeing people that don't exactly play by the societal rules that I would like to see. And I think a lot of people are coming in from out of state, not necessarily refugees outside the country, but people from different states, coming in and they seeing that they have a lot of benefits to be had here, and it's unfortunate, but it is true. The other component is that I want to have better communication with the school committee. Touching it before, they've only recently started taping the meetings, and the minutes aren't always the very best. So to really get the experience, you got to be there. This isn't complete news to me because the past couple of years, I've seen this kind of growing to where it is, students coming in. Just the school committee meeting Monday night, you got to see the numbers of what they're projecting for new students. So look into ways of being more efficient with the school committee.
We're going to conclude with one more question. I apologize if we did not get to all the questions. Like I said, we had a nice big stack of them this evening, but a lot of us need to go home to our families. What can we do to address the increasing drug problem in our community?
I've been talking to Wayne Cashman, the Western Maine Task Force of the DEA, and I told him that I wanted to see more on the ground action at the small level, not waiting to follow someone to the large fish. Because as you're looking for the large fish, you just create another 100 small fish. And I got to admit that, Chief Buzier and Deputy Chief O'Malley have been doing a fine job in the inner city, and nobody lives in the inner city but me at 135 Bartlett Street. It's remarkable. I've been resetting my signs at 2:30, 3:30 in the morning to make sure they're upright and crisp. And I've had no problem. I've seen hardly anybody on the streets at night. This city has definitely improved over the last 30 years. However, I'm older than some of you people have been around, so I know this. You don't.
Thank you. Mr. Macdonald?
I think Chief Buzier is really a boon to this community. And Deputy Chief O'Malley, they're doing a great job over there. We are probably one of the safest cities. That includes Portland, Bangor, Waterville, Augusta. We're one of the, Westbrook, I don't forget that. We're probably one of the safest cities. And that is because, I'm not gonna comment on what they're doing, but they have a strategy, and that strategy is working. And when they come down there and they run these little operations, you don't see anybody for about 2 or 3 weeks on the streets. They all go into hiding because they're afraid, because they think they're gonna get picked up. And Chief Buzier, he is the one, he's keeping this down. We're probably gonna have a couple of ODs and whatever, but he is really keeping the problem down. And the Lewiston Police Department, they've done an excellent job up there.
Thank you. Mr. Morgan?
I agree. I think the Lewiston Police Department does an excellent job, but I think they need to do more, and the way they can do that is by possibly hiring a few extra police people. Right now, they're working without a contract, as the fire department is. We've taken away fire prevention from the fire department, as Luke has said in the past. And these are the types of things that we need to get out there. There is, to a certain extent, drugs in every city that we go to. When you don't feel safe, as I've knocked on doors, I've found that some people don't feel safe and they won't walk downtown, or they won't walk after dark, I'm saying, to Kennedy Park and places like that. That's where drug paraphernalia and whatnot is going to expose itself. It would be nice to have a couple of beat cops down there walking like they used to in the old days. To do that, we have to have more money to be able to pay that extra police. Police, the fire department, public works, all these people are just like everybody else. They want to raise occasionally, just like everybody that works out there for a living, for their families. So, more police.
Mr. Chamber?
As far as solutions to the really growing drug problem in the community, it's not just our problem, it's all over the country. A lot of people are going from prescription painkillers to the cheaper alternative heroin. It's becoming a problem. A few things that we need to do. We need to look into treating addicts as sick patients and not as criminals. They're people who need help, and it's an investment if we can give them the help they need to get onto the productive members of society. We shouldn't give up on them. We should take a stronger approach to traffickers and dealers. I've said it before, no mercy on them, no mercy whatsoever. They're literally killing our kids. Literally killing our kids. We also need to look into other kind of drug reform efforts. We need to make sure we're going after the bad stuff. Make sure police resources are utilized to stop the bad stuff, to stop the cocaine, heroin, stuff that's killing people. We all really know at least one person who's been affected by drug addiction in this room. I mean, does anybody here know someone who, or not know someone who's been affected, whether it's a family or friend? So it's a personal issue for everyone, and we need to take different approaches. And it's really the whole country is kind of working on this together. We got to figure out a solution.
I've had loved ones struggle with addiction, and I really agree with Mr. Jensen that this is a disease. And I think the point that I would like to make is that we have been chasing this criminalization path for 30 or 40 years. And the root cause of why people turn to drugs basically comes down to trauma. And when people are put in really bad situations and then they're criminalized and incarcerated, and then sent right back out into those bad situations. Drugs, you just are guaranteeing a relapse in that situation. We need to change the fundamental context that are causing people to turn to drugs to begin with. And that does not happen through criminalization. That happens through treatment. That happens through tackling poverty. It happens through things like that.
Thank you. This concludes our evening. Thank you to both candidates and audience members for making this.